Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. I win the die roll and start us off. We are playing the mythic upgrades of the uncommon commanders, and I am very excited to play one of the continued cycles with a glittering massif coming into play tapped. Max just draws, plays a mountain, and then curses me with a Curse of Opulence. Matthew's got his own turn 1 play with a swamp, and everyone's favorite Bloodchief Ascension. Arch has got a Plains for turn, and casts Novice Inspector, making a clue as it comes in. I play an Eldrazi Temple, which is a bit of foreshadowing, and pay 2 for an Arcane Signet. Max just plays a mountain and casts his own Mana Rock with a Thought Vessel. Mathieu has a swamp and passes. Arja plays a swamp as well, casting Syr Vondam and moves to combat. He hits Mathieu with a Novice Inspector and passes. I've got a mountain for turn, and tap out for Tavern Brawler and pass. Max plays a mountain for his turn as well, and then casts Tannuk, Steadfast second, and ships the turn to Matt. During Max's end step, Matt flashes out an Orcish Bowmaster. He deals 1 to me, and amasses an Orc army, giving it a +1 counter. Mathieu draws for turn, and then swings the Bowmasters at me, dealing 1. And he and Max gain a gold token, and I then take the 1. He then plays an Ancient Tomb in his second main phase, and taps out, taking Tomb to cast a Grave Pact. Arja plays a land, and casts a Homicide Investigator. He then swings the Novice Inspector at me, making he and Max a gold token. He passes after that. I've got an untapped Monumental Hedge because I have a Plains, and I then tap out completely for an Illustrious Wanderglyph. I make a gnome on Max's upkeep, and he plays a mountain in his main phase, and then warps out Utvara Hellkite. Once it's out, he then hard casts a Cursed Mirror, having it come in as a copy of the Hellkite as well. He then swings both at Matt, and rightly so. His on-attack triggers go off, making Max 4 dragon tokens, and Matt then takes the hit for 12, and Max passes. Mathieu's upkeep has me gaining another gnome token, and he's got a swamp. And then swings both creatures at Max, hoping for a block. Max doesn't take it, and just takes the 2 instead. Mathieu's second main phase then has him casting a Toxic Deluge, and he pays 6 life into it. The board is then wiped, with Arja getting 1 clue token. Mathieu then plays a Swiftfoot Boots, and passes, gaining a counter on his Ascension at the end of turn from Max taking 2. Arja's got a Plains, and just recasts Syr Vondam. I draw, but have no land for turn, and use the Eldrazi Temple for 2 mana to help cast an Endbringer. I then ship the turn to Max. Max just plays a Ruby Medallion, which then allows him to cast his commander again for 1 less. Mathieu plays a Cabal Coffers for turn, and takes 2 from the tomb to activate the coffers. He uses the mana to help cast Alpharael, and then enchants it with a Gaia's Ghost form, and passes once it resolves. Arja's main phase has him paying 1 black for a Valgavoth's Faithful. He then plays a tapped Scoured Barrens, gaining 1 life, and ships it to me. I draw, casting Talisman of Conviction in my main phase. I then activate my Endbringer to ping the Faithful on Arja's side, but with the trigger on the stack, he casts a Corrupted Conviction, and sacrifices it to draw 2 cards. Syr Vondam sees this as well, gaining Arja 1 life, and adding a +1/+1 counter to itself. Max plays a land for turn, and then casts Utvara Hellkite from exile, and moving to combat, swings it at me, and Tannuk at Matt. Max gets to make a dragon token from attacking, and I take the hit, while Matt blocks with his commander. His commander is taken out, but comes back thanks to Kaya's Ghost form, and there is now also a Grave Pact trigger. I respond to this trigger by using the Eldrazi Temple for 2 colorless to activate my Endbringer and draw a card. Max then passes, with Matt adding a second counter on his Ascension because I took more than 2. Muddstah draws and plays a War Room for his land drop. He takes 2 from the Ancient Tomb to help cast Rush of Dread, having Max sacrifice half of his creatures and having Arja lose half of his life rounded up. Matt then gears up Alpharael with the boots, and going to combat, he swings his commander at me. Since Void has been met, I then lose 16 life and then take the normal hit from Alpharael. We then move to his end step, with Muddstah adding the final counter needed for Bloodchief Ascension. Arja also cracks his clue token to draw a card, but he doesn't get drained because tokens are not actually cards. Arja's got a Rogue's Passage as his land drop, and he then plays Ransack the Lab. He ends up with 3 cards going to his graveyard, which has Muddstah draining him for 6. Arja then plays out a Thraben Inspector, making a clue as it comes in. He then casts Elis Il-Kor and passes. My main phase has me tapping the Temple for 2, and then the rest of my mana to cast Hideous Taskmaster. As it comes in, I steal the Udvar Hellkite, and I don't bother with anything on Arja's side. I then swing both of my creatures at Muddstah, making a Dragon token. Muddstah has to resolve 2 Annihilator triggers, and sacrifices his commander and a War Room. With his commander being sacrificed, Grave Pact triggers, and the table sacrifices a creature as well. This has me binning the Udvar Hellkite, which actually has Max getting drained instead of me, and Arja sacrifices the Thraben Inspector, and gets drained as well. With Elis Il-Kor seeing the Inspector getting taken out, this also drains Max, Matt, and I for 1, and Matt then finally takes the hit, and with nothing else, I pass. Max untaps and draws, and then taps enough mana for a Wildfire Devils, which as it comes in, has Max randomly targeting an opponent, which ends up with him targeting Matt. Matt then lets Max cast Rush of Dread again, and Max targets me, having me sacrifice half of my creatures, and Muddstah losing half of his life rounded up. With nothing else, Max passes. Muddstah just draws, plays a Zentarum Bandit in his main phase, and then just passes. Arja draws, and then cracks his clue token in his main phase to draw again. He then plays up Moira Urborg Haunt, followed by a Priest of Fell Rites, gaining 2 life from Elis Il-Kor's triggers as they come in. My turn has me finally hitting a land, but I should have specified since it's a tapped land, with a Temple of Triumph, and I scry 1. I bottom the card, and then cast Swords to Plowshares to exile Muddstah's Bandit. This has me getting drained for 2 as the spell hits my graveyard, and I then swing at him with the Hideous Taskmaster, and Muddstah sacrifices his boots. Matt then survives with 1 life, and my second main phase then has me casting a Wojek Investigator. I pass turn after that. Max's upkeep has the Devils triggering, and after rolling to see who he'll hit, I'm randomly selected, which has me giving him my only instant, Swords to Plowshares. Max decides to use it and cast it on Elis Il-Kor, exiling it and gaining Arja some life. He then moves to his main phase and plays a Scavenger Grounds before recasting Tannuk. He then pays enough for a Port Raiser, and going to combat, he sends the Port Raiser at Muddstah and the Devils at me. This makes him a gold token, and Muddstah is then taken out, with Max gaining another combat step after this from the Port Raiser. I then take the hit from the Devils, and Max then moves to untap his board and goes to the next combat step. He goes at Arja with the Port Raiser and the Devils, and Arja chooses to block both creatures, and with all his extra combat steps over, Max then passes turn. Arja's got a Sign in Blood its main phase, losing 2 and drawing 2 more. He plays a tapped Silverquill Campus, and then casts Bone Shards, discarding Terramorphic Expanse to take out the Port Raiser. Arja ships it after that. On my upkeep, the Investigator triggers and makes 0 clue tokens because apparently I have the most cards in hand. I then draw for turn, and counting up my mana, I am able to cast the End Stone. This is one of the cards I've been most excited to try out, and I then move to combat, swinging the Taskmaster at Max and the Investigator at Arja. Max sacrifices his gold token to the Annihilator trigger, and then blocks with Tannuk to trade, while Arja takes the hit in the face. I then pass, and in my end step, my life total becomes half of my starting life thanks to the Endstone, which actually has me jumping back up to 20. Max casts a Thran Dynamo in his main phase, and then counts up his mana and casts Neheb the Eternal. He passes, with Arja bringing back the reassembling skeleton at the end of turn. Arja's turn has him playing a Zulaport Cutthroat in his main phase, and he then unearths Priest of Fellrights, and uses its ability to sacrifice itself to bring back Moira. It's exiled because of Unearth, so the Zulaport Cutthroat doesn't trigger, and he ships it after that. My upkeep once more has no clues being made, and I then tap enough for Sami in my main phase. This has me drawing a card from the end stone, and I pass, resetting my life to 20. Max draws and goes straight to combat, swinging ahead at me. I take the hit, and in his second main phase, Max gains an additional 4 red. He then recasts Tannuk, and Max then plays out Elena, Kessig Trapper, and passes to Arja. During his end step, Arja cycles Locust Spray to draw a card. Arja's main phase has Vran, Executioner Thane coming in. He then hardcasts Dread Return to bring back Aaron, Benalia's Ruin. He then passes to me. During his end step, I use the reduction that Sami grants to cast Leave for only 1 white, bouncing my mana rocks back to hand. I exile a card to Tavern Brawler in my upkeep, hitting Ancient Den. I then tap the Eldrazi Temple for 1 to cast a Glaring Fleshraker, drawing a card from the Endstone. I then cast a Talisman of Conviction, triggering the Fleshraker to make an Eldrazi spawn token and deal 1 to each of my opponents. At this point, needless to say, I pop off, casting a lot of cheap artifacts and making a lot of Eldrazi spawns, and deal a lot of damage to my opponents. I am then able to free cast Emrakul the Promised End, and take control of Max's next turn, which won't really be necessary. With the trigger on the stack though, Max responds by using Tectonic Edge to blow up my Ancient Den. Once all that's done, I then sacrifice my spawns for colorless, and with the reduction from Sami, cast a Kozilek's Command where X is 15. I pick the modes to look at my top 15 and keep 1 of them, and make 15 more spawn tokens. This has me making a total of 16 because of the colorless spell, and Max, knowing when he's done for, just decides to scoop it up so he can move on to the next one. Game review time. So the strongest card this game I'm pretty sure was the Endstone. Not only was it essentially life gain and almost kind of protection in that my opponents will have to take me from 20 to 0 in 1 turn cycle, it also drew me so many cards. Alpharael was pretty cool, and Void is an interesting mechanic, kind of reminds me of Revolt. Tannuk was terrifying with the warp and all the fire dragons and all that kind of stuff. And Arja's Syr Vondam just didn't get its gears going, unfortunately. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.